So today we will be speaking on academic identity. Academic identity is defined as how someone perceives schooling as being an important part of who they are. And this can be measured through factors such as, I often feel I do my best work in school. I feel that my grades accurately reflect my abilities. I feel that being a good student is an important part of who I am, along with some additional similar measures. A positive academic identity is oftentimes associated with increases in things like grades, academic motivation, and classroom participation, and decreases in school dropout, deviant behaviors, and disengagement. And even though we know the impact that a positive academic identity has on student outcomes, we aren't sure what the predictors are of that positive academic identity.
So another school experience associated with student outcomes is tracking. So tracking is the separation of students, typically into classrooms such as accelerated and regular, based on perceived ability. So prior research has found that tracking has associations with disparities in self-perceptions. So being in the accelerated track, for example, has been associated with having higher grades, higher self-concept, and higher self-esteem.
Another factor that has been associated with student outcomes is their perceptions of their teachers. So according to prior research, when students perceive their teachers positively, it tends to be associated with feeling like they belong in school and also having higher academic achievement, whereas negative perceptions of teachers tends to be associated with being held back and with deviant behavior. So given this research on tracking and given the research on students' perceptions of teachers, we were interested in how these factors related to students' academic identity in middle schoolers.
So in order to examine this question, at the beginning of the year, we took a public school district, an upper middle class district in the Southeast, and conducted about 250 surveys with the students, and then took a subsample of that portion, and we conducted interviews with 40 of those students, and additionally, we looked at the teachers that they work with and asked the teachers several different questions about how student academic identity is perceived. We then took the quantitative data and conducted a multi-level modeling analysis and used in vivo to code and analyze our qualitative data to sort of dissect what we had gathered.
So in examining our first research question, our results indicated that being in the accelerated math track had a significant association with predicting academic identity, whereas being in the regular math track did not. So we wanted to see why these disparities existed, and our qualitative research shed light on that. So for students in the accelerated classrooms, they said things like, the difference between being an accelerated and not being an accelerated is intelligence. I might work harder than those who didn't. I might naturally be better at math. Students in the regular classroom said things like, well, all the really smart kids don't go to regular math. Accelerated math is where all the really smart students go. And when asked why they think that is, students said things like, it means they're smarter. Thus, tracking may provide signals to students on who they are academically.
For our second research question, we were interested in how students' perceptions of their math and English language arts teachers influence their academic identity. So what we found was that positive perceptions of math and ELA teachers predicted academic identity in these students. And when we asked them to say a little bit more about this, one student said about his teachers, well, my teacher is super, super, super nice, and she always explains everything. And another student, Sammy, said they're always really nice, like even if they're having a bad day or something bad happened, they're always nice to you.
So in conclusion, this study was important because it shed new light on some of the predictors of academic identity. We found that students' perceptions of teachers was one of those predictors, which is important for academic identity development and for some school intervention tactics. And our study built on existing literature about tracking's impact on student outcomes, and we would definitely encourage further studies to consider how the schooling practice might have harmful effects for student outcomes. So again, we are the Schooling and Parenting team, and thank you guys very much for your attention.